Hey everyone, and welcome to Real Life Real Crime Daily for January 11th, 2023. I'm Jim Chapman.
I'm Woody Overton.
And I'm Mike Agavino. Welcome to episode number 3. Let's start today off revisiting a couple of stories we've talked about earlier this week. First, the story that's still gripping the nation, the Idaho Murders. What's the latest going on with the Idaho murder investigation, guys?
Yeah, well, we covered this story in detail just last episode, and we've already had some updates coming your way. Woody, it appears that they have done some more cellular phone location responses to this.
I wish I'd have had that shit back in my day as a detective.
Yeah, huh? It is something definitely that nowadays makes it a lot easier for law enforcement investigators to
build a case.
Right. And what essentially happened in this case was the phone number that was provided by Kohberger, apparently this was his personal cell phone, went back to the scene at approximately 9:32 a.m.
And y'all, that's the same cell phone we told you about that they used to track his routes, and that they used to prove that he was there at the murder scene 12 times ahead of time. And they continued to dig into it, evidently, and found out, which I know happens on a lot of the cases I've had, murder cases I've had, where the perpetrator goes back to the scene of the crime.
And to me, this dictates two schools of thought in my head. Number one, it's possible that Kohberger could have been curious as to whether those bodies had been discovered yet. I'm sure when he left that scene after that horrible murder of 4 people, on his mind was, man, the country's going to freak. The city's going to freak whenever they find these people dead inside this house, and it's going to be on the news. So I'm sure he did not go to sleep. He's actively watching the news, waiting for this breaking headline. And when 7 o'clock passed and 8 o'clock passed, he's like, nobody's saying anything. There's nothing out there. There's no news. I'm going to drive by and see if they've even been discovered yet, if there's crime scene tape out, whatever.
Yeah. That's part of being the psychopath also, going back, and a lot of times they try to interject themselves into the investigation, but like on Courtney Coco's case, my suspect number 2 admitted to going back to the crime scene or the body dump site twice that night and once after the body was found. So I think it's certainly the dude's not sleeping. He's jacked up. I mean, whether he got off on it mentally, sexually, whatever, on thoughts of crimes, and he's wondering what's going on, or he wants to sit back and smile and laugh and say, hey, motherfuckers, you're never going to catch me. Right?
Yeah. And I think it speaks to his arrogance as well. Right. Just what an arrogant son of a bitch to go back to the scene.
Right. You know, I'm going to touch on something that just popped in my head, and I read some things on it, and one of our listeners at least thought we were trying to say something negative about the female who saw him in the residence and why it took so long for the case to get reported, and that's not true. I mean, everybody's different. It was fight, flight, or freeze. She froze, and it saved her life. I believe that. We didn't say anything negative about her. However long it took to get reported, and the call actually came in. What I read last night, the call actually came in as for 911 to come because there were some unresponsive bodies. It still didn't say murder, and so y'all, no one can put themselves in that young lady's shoes, or why it took so long to actually call it in like that, and they responded to unresponsive bodies, and it turned out it was 4 homicides. So throw that out there. The thoughts and prayers to that girl. I'm sure she'll be scarred forever, and hindsight's 20/20 and all that.
Absolutely.
But him going back, I absolutely believe part of it has to be that I just did the the worst murders in probably, modern history, and there's nothing.
Yeah.
So he wants to see what's going on.
I think this story is a lot of bad news for criminals, because if you're a PhD or you're studying for your PhD in criminology and you F your crime up this bad, what does it say for all the stupid guys that commit crime? I mean, they got no chance now.
But you know what? I don't think that he thought he effed it up. He's certainly at some point realized he doesn't have his sheath, right? And I get that. Hindsight's 20/20, but there is no such thing as a perfect crime. Even you can be as psychopath and narcissistic as this guy and think you've gotten away with a perfect crime. Then after your adrenaline stops running, you're like, uh-oh. He may have gone back just to see if he dropped the sheath in the parking lot. When he went back that
good
day.
Point.
So, but he certainly got away with it for a month and a half, or he thought he did.
Right.
Well, from one senseless crime to another, we talked about 2 episodes ago this really sad story about an Addis police officer here in Louisiana in a police chase who ends up killing 2 beautiful teenage girls from a town called Bruley. And a lot has come out about that investigation in the last couple of days, including some video footage that's tough to watch. Woody, what's your take on where we are?
It's really interesting. When we recorded that episode that day, that video actually came out that night. Channel 2 WBRZ obtained the footage of the actual crash site, the intersection, and they said that they made the decision to not actually release the impact of the crash, but they went up right to that point, and they estimated he was going over 80 something miles an hour when he hit that intersection. And when he hit these and killed these young ladies and injured the brother, he never checked his brakes, never touched his brakes.
He was going 86.
At 86 miles an hour, never touched his brakes. And it was some second, in the grand scheme of things, it was an eternity between the bad guy, when the bad guy went through, and then he comes through and kills these people.
The more I dig into this case, quite honestly, the more pissed off I get about it. Initially, when I heard about this happening, it was a tragedy. It was horrible. But, I look at these police officers and I hold them to a high regard. And so I held out a lot of judgment until I had all the facts. I think with this video, a lot of those facts have came out. This light was green for 30 seconds before this officer blew through that light. So it wasn't a situation where the light was red and then it turned green right when he started going or anything like that. This guy was going. He knew the light was green, but he
had no intention of stopping.
No intention. And it wasn't like the girls ran a light or anything like that, or it just turned green when they got up to the intersection. 30 seconds, it was green. He had a red light for 30 seconds and never even hit the brakes.
Yeah. Well,
that's horrible.
A couple things on it, y'all, and I thought about this after we recorded also. Absolutely, they would still be alive if even in Baton Rouge they had 1022 or they had stopped the pursuit. Guess why? The guy doesn't need to run if you're not behind him with your lights and sirens on.
Correct.
I mean, he'd have just gone wherever he was going to go.
He had 8 other police cars behind him.
Yeah, right. But that's right, and that's common in any pursuit. But the other thing is when you're in a pursuit, just because, and I said this before, you have your lights and sirens on, what's called rolling code, y'all. You're rolling code. You have a responsibility when you come to any intersection to slow down and make sure that you're doing it safely. And he just absolutely didn't do it. Now, DA Tony Clayton evidently now has the Addis officer's dash cam. And the problem for the Addis officer is when you turn on your lights and sirens, your dash cam kicks on automatically, but more importantly, your body mic kicks on. So I think Tony said it on the news in so many words without saying it. He said, I know this guy was running on adrenaline, and when it comes back and I'm able to play everything, he had tunnel vision and he had total disregard. And when you hear everything, when I present everything to the jury, it's going to be so bad that even the goldfish are going to stop swimming.
That's right.
So they're going to come back, and he's going to be able saying, look, I guarantee you the pursuits I've been in, and the one I talked about, the 59-minute pursuit I was in that time with the rolling meth lab, that guy was only going like 15 miles an hour. He wasn't trying to evade me. He wasn't stopping while I was getting rid of the meth lab. The thing is, my microphone had the camera in the car at the time. I'm sure I might have said a few curse words, or I'm going to get your ass, or whatever. This difference is, this guy, I bet when the audio comes out, what he was saying, I can only imagine, because it pissed Tony off so bad. And he's like, it's so bad. When everybody hears it, the goldfish are going to stop swimming.
Yeah, Clayton's exact quote here is, he got caught up in his adrenaline. That adrenaline caused him to have tunnel vision. The tunnel vision ultimately resulted in the children losing their lives. The bright line rule from this is that blue lights don't give you the power to part the Red Sea.
Yeah, that's powerful, powerful words. And real quick on tunnel vision.
And I would agree with that.
I agree too. Real quick on tunnel vision. Tunnel vision is when you get caught up in a situation. Let's say somebody pulls a pistol on me. The only thing I see, it could be a .22 pistol, and when I'm looking at that barrel, it looks like a howitzer, and because it's in your face, and that's tunnel vision. You're focused only on that threat or whatever it may be. This guy is focused on being in this pursuit. His adrenaline's pumping, and he just loses sight. He has tunnel vision on the bad guy only. He's not even comprehending that he's going to kill anybody or do whatever. No. But he's also he's forgetting about his training or what it should be. When you come to intersections, things like that, you have a responsibility to slow down and make sure you're not going to hurt anybody else.
Right. And look, this police officer, neither one of us know him. I don't think he intentionally killed anybody, but his actions did.
Right.
And he may feel as horrible as anybody else right now at this point in time. That being said, he holds a responsibility, and he has to be held accountable.
Right. No different than if you and I are sitting in the room today, and I'm cleaning my weapon, and I squeeze the trigger and I kill you, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to feel horrible about it, but guess what? I'm still negligent.
Yeah.
And he's definitely negligent. I guarantee he feels horrible. His whole life is destroyed, but guess what? He did it. He killed these beautiful young ladies and critically injured the brother because he was negligent.
Moving right along, today's lead story, an unbelievable story, but one that hasn't gotten that much coverage across the country, so I think you may be hearing this for the first time. A 6-year-old, a first-grade 6-year-old in Norfolk, Virginia, walked into school with a pistol and shot his teacher earlier this week.
And
the average 6-year-old weighs about 45 pounds. Woody, what does the average pistol weigh?
2.5, 3 pounds, easy. A small one.
I don't know how he kept his pants up walking. I mean, this is an unbelievable story. I looked in the youngest convicted murder I could find on record the teacher did not die, so this is not a murder, but was 13.
Hey, ladies, are you feeling overwhelmed by hormonal changes? Well, you're definitely not alone. There are more than 1,000 hormone disruptors living in our environment right now. It's in your food, your water, the air you breathe, the clothes you wear, your skincare products. They all mess with your hormones. Then there's the natural hormone changes Your body goes through it, premenopause, menopause, and while it's a natural process, it doesn't mean you have to suffer through it. The good news is you don't have to suffer through it anymore because now you have Hormone Harmony, a formula made only with herbal ingredients that are shown to reduce hormonal symptoms in women of all ages. Hormone Harmony is not just a hormone support and supplement, it's become a phenomenon. Women can't stop talking about it on social media. A bottle of Hormone Harmony is sold every 24 seconds. And the biggest benefit? Well, my wife says it makes her feel like her own self again. And that's what women mention over and over in the reviews. And there are over 30,000 reviews for Hormone Harmony. And for a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use code RLRC at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC for 15% off today. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC. Hey y'all, let me tell you about Gobble. All Gobble meal kits are pre-prepped. That means less work for you and less waste in your kitchen. Their meal kits include everything you need so you can save time at the store or just skip that trip entirely. I got the box in and I had 3 different meals. I had a Kung Pao chicken, crispy fish tacos, and a beef bourguignon, however you say it. But let me tell you about the classic beef bourguignon. Look, it came with beef pot roast and a beef broth concentrate, red wine demi-glace, cremini mushrooms, cipollone onions, mashed potatoes, baby carrots, and rosemary thyme butter. It was so easy to make. Literally like 15 minutes it took Cindy. And let me tell you something, and all the dishes were fire, but this thing was like a taste explosion in my mouth. It's just unreal. We've got to spend more time together and more time doing the things we love because everything came in this one single box right to my door. So see what a difference Gobble will make for your household. Right now, they're offering my listeners a fantastic limited time deal. You get $120 off across 4 boxes plus free shipping and free cookies. And let me tell you, those cookies, I ate one that was sin baked and it was delicious. Go to gobble.com/real life. That's GOBBLE.com/real life for $120 off your first 4 boxes. This offer is not available on the home site, so don't miss out. This is genius. It's taste explosions in your mouth like you never had.
Years old. I'm 6 years old.
They won't even charge them. And state of Louisiana, they won't charge you with a crime if you're under 11. They'll do special circumstances, et cetera. But go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The issue for me with this is on many levels. All right. We don't know if he had it in his waistband or his backpack or whatever, but we don't know if he rode the bus to school or if his parents dropped him off. But how in the hell does a 6-year-old get possession of a firearm and then have the mental intent to go to school and shoot your teacher? It wasn't an accidental shooting. They said he shot her on purpose.
Right. And I think that's key to this story is that it was not an accidental shooting. This was not a situation where a 6-year-old went to school with a gun and he pulled it out to show his friend and the gun went off. Not only is it a major issue that the 6-year-old had a gun to start with, but that he had the mental capacity to deal with his issue by shooting the teacher. It is unlike anything I've ever seen. I don't ever recall a time. I've seen accidental shootings with young people of that age where they've got their daddy's gun out of a nightstand and pulled it out and it went off and they shot their sister or something, all tragic. But I've never seen, at least, and I'm sure they exist, but I've never seen a situation where this happened during an altercation and the student actually pulls out a gun and shoots the teacher. What a tragedy. But my question would be, number one, you obviously hold the parents responsible for this incident. A 6-year-old, number one, can't go in a store and buy a gun. You have to be able to get it now. I would be curious to see if the parents have issued a statement as of yet on this or anything of that nature.
You better believe the parents are getting charged with something. And I absolutely hate the story. I hate it for the 6-year-old, I hate it for the teacher, but I also hate what's going to come out of left field about gun control and everything else and all that bullshit that's coming. Let me tell you something. My house is full of firearms, always has been. And I can guarantee you, I train my kids at that age and older. Every firearm is loaded. Don't ever point it at something you don't intend to kill. And you don't need a safety. Your safety is your finger, right? Because the weapon will not fire if you don't pull the trigger. But so these parents, I don't get it. I mean, I raised mine the way I raised them, and I'll raise my grandkids the same way or whatever. That I don't understand how a 6-year-old, my kids going to school, if my wife didn't hug them or do whatever, pack their lunch and pack their backpack, how in the hell does a kid get a firearm, a 6-year-old get a firearm from your shit and go kill someone? Now, I understand people say put the locks on the guns and all that. In some states, they have laws about that shit, and I get that. Mine, I did mine through education on my kids. I don't know how the kid gets from their home, taking a weapon, a firearm, to school and to the point of I'm killing my teacher.
And we do want to mention, because we're assuming he got this at home. Could have got it from another student.
Right.
Could have got it from his home, or it could have been something that an older brother had. I mean, there's a lot not to this article. Right. Specific to where the gun came from. They are investigating that now. But if you assume he got this from home, it is a major problem.
Yeah, you know what? I shouldn't assume that, but I'm also not ignorant enough to think he went on the corner and popped out $400 and got a pistol after he got off the school bus, or his parents dropped him off at the curb at the elementary school.
Well, and one of the first questions the police chief answered, or one of the first statements the police chief made was, I want to know where the firearm came from. Yeah. Well, we all want to know that. Right. That was made by Chief Drew of the Newport News
what kind
Police
of world
Department.
We're living in when a 6-year-old shoots their teacher. And my wife was a teacher, a 5th grade teacher, retired now. I don't understand. I could understand maybe a little bit better if the kid was older, or a teenager or something. Shit, you can't even blame this on video games or whatever this time. I mean, I know we're desensitized to murder and all that stuff. It's the movies and everything now are like they were when I was a kid, but I don't understand. I cannot get my head around this one.
Well, and it starts with something that's pretty hard to understand, which is, how does a 6-year-old get into an altercation with the teacher? You're 6.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that.
Took his crayons away.
The altercation being evidently the 6-year-old had a beef with his teacher, and he gets a gun from wherever and comes to. Isn't it like he just had the altercation that minute, and he ran out and bought a gun and came back and shot her. I think that it had to happen at least the day before or several days before, and he shows up and shoots her.
Now, Superintendent George Parker, not surprising to me, came out and called for better gun safety measures. Yeah, well, so, let me ask you, Woody, what are your thoughts on this? Is gun safety part of the problem in this case?
I would say absolutely yes, but not for the reasons this guy's saying it. And I believe that training in harping it like I did in my kids, every weapon. Yeah, I used to say it's always the unloaded weapons that kill on these accidental shootings and stuff. Right? Oh, I didn't know it was loaded. I thought it wasn't loaded. But train them up, train them young or whatever. But you know what? A lot keeps an honest man honest. And if you take away the guns, look in China and everywhere else, they'll kill you with a knife if they really want to kill you. I mean, this kid, if he had the red ass about so much at 6 years old that he was going to kill his teacher. If he couldn't have got a firearm, he might have tried to stab her. I mean,
yeah, and certainly gun safety measures from the aspect of if you own firearms, you keep them locked up or you keep them, put trigger guards on them or whatever. It would certainly help keep a 6-year-old from grabbing it and taking it to school if that's indeed what happened. But, you mentioned something earlier in this conversation, and that was the education of guns. And I'll give you a situation of how I grew up and how I also have guns, and I've pulled those guns out and showed them to my kids and said, hey, look, this is a gun. If you're ever curious and you want to see this gun, tell me. And I'll pull it out and I'll show it to you. And I'll explain to you how it works and all those sort of things. But don't ever go looking for this gun when I'm not home.
Yeah.
And I have them have them locked up except for at night when I'm asleep, and then they're in an undisclosed location. But I think education is very important to our children. I think some people hesitate to pull a gun out and discuss what it is with their kids, even when they own them, because it's kind of a taboo thing to do. They're worried the kid's going to then see the gun and go want to operate it. I think it's the other way around.
Different views, opposing views. I was raised on guns. My dad never locked the firearms up. But let me go back. I taught my kids about it, and every gun's loaded or every weapon's loaded. Don't point and shoot. My kids, when they were kids, I had them. And you better believe, even my youngest son, it was just a couple months ago, I had my buddy from BRPD, who's a firearms instructor, used to be my SWAT team commander, take him around the building and teach him how to use the pistol and fire it. And guess what? The firing is a big part because it makes it for real for you when you stand there crying, you shake them because you're thinking this thing's going to go off. And I remember the first time I ever fired a shotgun, I was probably 7, 8 years old. My daddy went through the safety part with it and I shot a stump and I fell down and I cried like a little bitch, right? But you know what? It gave me a respect for firearms. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm the one on the other. I'm gonna know and catch some shit about this. I have closets full of weapons on top of my gun racks that are freestanding and open, and none of my shit's locked in. Every one of them's loaded. But my kids are now all grown except for one. No. And my wife knows, and everybody that comes over, I said, don't touch them. And 6-year-old, I don't get it. So.
Yeah, well, obviously
shit's going to happen, but this shouldn't happen.
Well, here on Real Life, Real Crime Daily, we are occasionally going to celebrate some bad guy birthdays. And today's very first Real Life, Real Crime bad guy birthday belongs to Lyle Menendez. That name is probably familiar to many of you. Lyle and his brother were convicted of killing their parents, Jose and Kitty Menendez, in Beverly Hills, California.
Executing their parents.
Back in 1989. The crime's 89, the convictions in 1990. I know a little bit about this case. Actually, I know more than a little bit about this case because I almost did a podcast series on it and got to know a writer in Los Angeles by the name of Robert Rand, who had done extensive work on this case, and his work really focused on something that ultimately was not believed during the trial, and the jury did not give credence to the presentation of the limited amount of evidence that was delivered at trial in this regard. But
spark something uncommon this holiday with just the right gift from Uncommon Goods. The busy holiday season is here, and Uncommon Goods makes it less stressful with incredible hand-picked gifts for everyone on your list, all in one spot. Gifts to spark joy, wonder, delight, and that's exactly what I wanted feeling. Hey, y'all, I ordered a super cool piece. It's a candle with a sculpture of LSU's Tiger Stadium on top of it. And each officially licensed laser cut wooden replica features up to 4 layers of detail, creating a bird's eye view of a specific football field, seating section, and more. And every label includes your stadium's name, the team's logo, and school location. And it has a coconut, soy, vegan wax infused with sandalwood smell that creates tailgates and touchdown scent profile, reminiscent of game day. It's invigorating like fresh cut grass and nostalgic like smoke from a pre-game grill, and calming like the crisp autumn air of a new semester on campus. Y'all, I love it. I have it at the base of my TV, and I'm ready to watch the Tigers play on Saturday night, right? Uncommon Goods. Look, when you shop at Uncommon Goods, you're supporting artists and small independent businesses. And many of their handcrafted products are made in small batches. So shop now before they sell out this holiday season. Uncommon Goods looks for products that are high quality, unique, and often handmade or made in the U.S. They have the most meaningful, out of the ordinary gifts anywhere. They even have gifts you can personalize. From holiday hosts and hostess gift to the coolest finds for kids, to hits for everyone from the book lovers to diehard sports fans. Uncommon Goods has something for everyone, not the same old selections you can just find anywhere. And with every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, they give $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. They've donated more than $3 million to date. So to get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/RLRC. That's uncommongoods.com/RLRC for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary.
Early holiday savings have arrived at Tanger Outlets. Discover the best gifts from your favorite brands, perfect for everyone on your list. And stack your savings with up to 70% off, plus an extra 15 to 25% off only during Tanger Style. Save at Polo Ralph Lauren, Old Navy Outlet, Under Armour, Skechers, J. Crew Factory, and more. Hurry in. These early holiday deals last through November 24th. Tanger Outlets. More savings, more cheer.
There's absolutely evidence today that both of the children, both of the boys, had been abused by their father, Jose, who was a record executive who brought the band Menudo. This is how he made most of his money, how he became rich, was bringing the band Menudo from Puerto Rico to the United States and signing them to his record label and conducting a very, very profitable tour. And I have it clear evidence of his abuse of Menudo members as well as both of the boys. So, Woody, should that have mattered in that case?
Yeah, this is when I was coming up. This is when like CNN and all that first started having 24-hour news coverage and all that. So I followed this, and I think I even read a book on this at one time. Now, Mike, where I disagree with you is I don't. Okay, no doubt in my mind, the kids had been abused. All right, and that was their defense in the trial. Okay, that they had been abused and they thought they were going to get killed eventually, et cetera. And you can't say that the jury members didn't believe that they were abused. There's no poll of that. If I was on the jury, I would have believed they had been abused. The problem is they executed their parents. There are millions, probably I hate to say it, millions, hundreds of thousands of kids getting raped every day who don't choose to execute their parents. And I'm talking about, and you correct me if I'm wrong, they blew the mama's head off while she sit on the couch eating popcorn. But here's the deal, y'all. He's, like Mike said, cat's super rich. They immediately after the murders, they lied. They tried to cover it up. They went on spending sprees, buying Rolexes and Porsches and shit like that. And so if I was on the jury and, even if I believe you've been abused, you could have done so many different things besides lie afterwards. Hey, you could have killed him and called a cop and said, he's been abused me. I was in fear for my life. They would have never got life in prison. They executed their parents, abused or not, a lot of people get abused, don't kill their abusers or their parents, certainly, and then don't go and spend this spree. I understand the spending spree could be the big FU to the parents or whatever. Doesn't matter. They lied about it. They covered it up. And I personally believe they were abused, but I also think they planned and they're guilty as fuck. Pardon my French. Guilty AF.
Now, this goes back to 1989. So this predates Catholic Church, a lot of other famous cases now that have shaped the way we all come to view child abuse. I think they would say that at that point in time, they didn't think anybody would believe them. They didn't.
Okay.
They didn't think they had any recourse but to take the action.
Well, guess what? They executed their parents, whether they thought anybody would believe them or not. They killed them. It's against the law. They're found guilty by a jury of their peers. And certainly there are people today who are being raped, have been raped, and they don't execute the killers. They can go in and whether people believe them or not. In 89, they're not saying, you can't say that the jury didn't believe that they weren't abused. You can definitely say the jury believed they executed their parents. And I don't think there would have been any difference if it was a jury today, the Catholic Church and everybody else. It was their actions or lack of actions, their actions in the murders, the executions, and then what they did afterwards, they lied about it, that got them their sentences.
This played out in Beverly Hills.
Doesn't matter. It could be on. There's a road. It used to be a Rodeo Drive here in Denham Springs, and it's
There's still one.
now. Well, no, it's changed to Martin Luther King Drive now. But I'm saying it could be on. It could be in the poorest neighborhood, the richest neighborhood. These cats did some bad shit, and their actions afterwards. They certainly weren't showing any remorse afterwards until they got caught. And then their abuse story comes out. I'm telling you, I believe they were abused. No doubt about it. A lot of people have been abused. They don't execute the people. Or if they shoot at the kid in Baton Rouge, I shot my dad, the documentary, right? He killed his dad and it was kind of same circumstances, whatever, but he didn't go out and buy Porsches and shit. And the people, I think, the financial end of it had a huge part. The upbringing, one of them going to Princeton, the other one being a star tennis player and all that. Maybe even it being abused, the jury members can look at it and say the parents might have abused them. They might have been shitty parents, but they executed them. Blew mom's head off while she's sitting on the couch. I think she was eating popcorn. Blew her head off from behind. Okay, sneak attack. She wasn't abusing them right then, but even the abuse is valid, which I believe it is. It doesn't give you a right, no matter what economic class you come from, to kill. They should have reported it. If they were in fear for their lives, they could have reported it, and it would have been acted upon.
Let me
Whether
talk.
they believe
Let me
it
talk.
or not. Go ahead.
Okay. Here's the issue. If they were getting abused, I probably would have killed them too. I probably killed the parents too. But here is where they fucked up. It wasn't the action of if they would have killed them and then called the police and said, I just killed my mom and dad. I was getting molested for years, told them the whole story that is true. I believe that they went through horrible stuff with this molestation. Had they done that, I believe that many moons ago, they would have been released from prison.
If they got convicted at all.
If they got convicted at all. The issue, that's not the issue. Everybody gets locked into that issue. Well, they were getting molested. That's not why they went to prison. Why they went to prison was because after they got molested, after they executed their parents, which I have no problem with, I probably would have done the same thing. But after they did all that, they started buying Rolex watches. They were living the high life. They were partying like rock stars. They were lying left and right. And basically, it made it look like they killed them for the money. There is a valid deal there with them getting molested. But let me tell you, if you got a jury sitting there, I'm like Woody. If I'm on that jury, one part of me, my heart is going out to them for all this horrible stuff that their dad was doing. And then the other part is like, why didn't you report it after the fact? Even if you would have killed them and then reported it.
It still wouldn't have been.
Yeah. Because right now it looks like you're living the high life, having a great time.
Oh, I guess what? They were living the high life.
Yeah. So I think they're in prison, not because of what they did necessarily, but because of how they responded after. And I think that most of the jury, in my opinion, probably believed they were getting molested.
Right.
But did not believe, when you're getting molested and there's so much pain there that you have to kill your parents, partying afterwards takes away from that. It makes it look like you had a whole nother agenda. I'm not saying they did, but I'm saying that's the perception. And that jury got that perception, and it's sad because they've been in jail over 30 years now for a situation that, honestly, if they would have just handled it the right way, they would have been released a long time ago.
What if they reported and didn't execute their parents? I know he's a powerful guy, but it still would have had to been investigated.
I don't cry for anybody. Personally, I don't have any. If you're molesting somebody, in my opinion, you probably need to be executed.
Yeah, I agree.
So I don't have a sad feeling on that end. I just feel like maybe after they did it, they should have reported it, not lied about it, and certainly not partied like rock stars.
Right. Does 30 plus years as model prisoners, Lyle reportedly has done all kinds of great work from prison, helping many inmates, and I mean anything for their good behavior that gets recognized.
Nope.
They'll never get out.
You know
they
what?
Shouldn't ever get out.
It's old saying, you can either do your time or let your time do you. He's a smart dude. He's making the best of his life sentence. And if you're helping other inmates, the inmate lawyers and shit, that's like the best job you can have. You know why? Because nobody's going to rape you in the shower or make you their bitch if you can possibly help them get off on appeals. So he's doing his time. He's a high profile inmate. He's doing all this wonderful shit inside. But guess what? I submit to you, he could have done the same thing on the outside with his education and everything else. He could have been a force for good in the world. His parents, if they're guilty of raping him, fuck them. I don't care about them or them being executed. Again, their actions afterwards, the covering up, the lying, and if there's anybody that didn't believe it on the jury, it's because they didn't come out and say it until after the fact.
Right. 2 years ago, it might have been 3 years ago, Dick Wolf did a special Law and Order miniseries that I thought was the best in terms of just balanced look at the case. So if anybody's really interested in it, you might want to check out that Law and Order series about the Menendez brothers. And happy birthday, Lyle.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Lyle. Blow out your candles. Hey, by the way, Lyle's parents, it may have been pieces of shits, but they'll never have another birthday. No, we're not saying they are because we don't have any direct knowledge, but I believe it. I watched all the trial footage, and back then they aired it all live on TV. I totally believe they were molested. I also believe they fucked it up.
I think the three of us are loyal Dollar General customers, and
I know my wife is.
all took note of this story.
Oh, it rides me all the time. Real quick, I'm going to interrupt you. On the Dollar General store, I'll go up to the Hun place by myself, right? And I'll go in and I'll buy the cheapest, stuff for me, like this man time. I'm getting Vienna sausages, and crackers, and whatever, the cheapest everything. And she's like, why would you spend 10 cents less on this Dollar General brand and then something that I know you would like to have? I'm like, I'm a bachelor. But yeah, they get at Dollar General stores now, they got the cold sections. They sell beer. They do everything.
Mm-hmm.
They're awesome. And Rafus Anderson was working as a store clerk in a Dollar General in Monroe When a suspect entered with a weapon, Anderson fired a shot, struck the suspect, and the suspect and a customer fled out the store. Anderson did not realize, he says, at the time that he had hit the robber, but he had. Officers found the robber lying in the money he had just robbed from the store just north of the scene, and that suspect died later from his injuries at a local hospital. Is this a good shoot?
Well,
that's not the problem, but finish the story.
Wait, I don't know that I want him to finish it because I got some things I'm going to lead into on that. The first thing I would say on this situation from someone that has worked in a retail environment for almost 30 years before I started doing this, you don't ever try to stop someone from robbing your store as an employee. And the reason for that is from a management standpoint, nothing is worth your life. And this gentleman, although I'm not blaming him from an aspect of, all of us can look at this situation and say, well, he might have shot too. Somebody's robbing you. I guarantee you the owner of that Dollar General franchise is pissed that that guy tried to stop that. That being said, no, I do not think it was a good shoot because of that rule right there. If you have a retail establishment, someone comes in and tries to rob you, you give them whatever they want, let them leave and let the police handle it.
I used to train after I retired, state police, got a contract with the major jewelry stores all over the United States. I would go in and train them what to do in armed robberies, right? And which is don't hit the hidden alarm, because if I'm robbing you, I'm going to have my getaway driver monitoring police band radios. And if you hit that, it's coming in as a 62A silent activated at the jewelry store. And I'm going to radio my guy that's inside, and I might kill everybody because dead people can't take the stand. Back to it, Sergeant Vicky Wax, like a 30-year veteran of Baton Rouge City Police Department, working extra duty at Walmart, tried to stop a guy from stealing a $10 DVD, and he took her weapon and killed her because he was a two-time loser, and he knew he was on parole. He knew he was going back to prison for life. That being said, I'm pretty sure Dollar General store didn't pay the kind of money for people to go out and train them boys up like this jewelry company was paying me. He comes in, pulls a weapon.
And here's the problem. A customer also got shot.
Yeah, right.
That was an innocent person in that incident. And that's another reason, as a retail establishment, you don't want employees armed with guns, right, because they're maybe not trained very properly to use that gun. Then you got bullets flying in a store and an innocent bystander gets shot. In this case, that's exactly what happened. Now, what makes this case even more interesting is after he had shot the potential robber of the store and a customer, this gentleman, basically they ran out of the store, but the customer and the robber, and this gentleman worked the rest of his shift, and then he locked up and went home. He didn't report it.
Yeah, that's
so eventually he did report the shooting the next day, which they had already found the body of the robber who ran out of the store. He was dead. Fortunately, the customer was treated for injuries and released from the hospital, but he was charged with manslaughter,
right,
and was released on bail just yesterday.
Yeah. Thing is, maybe if he comes, first of all, it's a Dollar General store, right? How much money he's going to get, although he was found deceased laying in the money that he took from the Dollar General store. But maybe if he came in and was popping off rounds in the roof, pow, 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 this is a stick up, something like that. If I had a pistol behind the counter, I probably would have shot him. They say it's better to be tried by 12 than carried by 6. But that obviously didn't happen in this case. And the fact that this dude shot this weapon at least one time, probably two, and just locks up the stores and goes home.
What?
Is this a daily occurrence for you, homie? I mean,
all in a day's work,
right? All in a day's work for your minimum wage. I mean, not knocking DG because I love him, but geez, I hope there's nobody behind the counter when I'm in the store that has a firearm.
That's right, and it's worth noting that this was the fourth robbery of this location, and as well as 2 attempted robberies prior to that time. So this is probably an employee that just was fed up and had enough, and he's starting to pack on the way to work. But you just can't do that because of exactly what happened, and that is a customer that was innocent, and that entire situation got shot. That could have been a baby. That could have been a child of some sort. But hell, if he shoots me on accident, I'm going to be pissed.
Right.
So
hey, it's not like he's a SWAT team sniper.
Right. No, he turned that thing sideways.
Expert. He's pulling and blasting, and maybe watched a few too many movies. I can't say what I would have done. I can tell you, if I'm anywhere and somebody pulls, if I'm somewhere and somebody pulls a weapon and they point it at me, they're going to spring a leak. Okay, he's going to shoot me or I'm going to shoot them. And but if they're just like waving in the air and shit like that, I'm here to train and hopefully they get out the door. If they start shooting people, I'm going to kill them.
But along the lines of springing a leak, a man was robbing a taqueria in the Houston, Texas area.
Everybody loves tacos.
Yeah.
Everybody does love tacos, and lots of people. The little store was packed with taco lovers. The problem was a guy walked in brandishing a weapon, asking people for their wallets and jewelry, watches, etc., collected up the various items from the people in the taqueria and walked by a gentleman that happened to take exception to everything that was going on, reached into the back of his pants, pulled out a weapon without the perpetrator seeing any of this, actually got up, got right behind the guy, and started shooting. And when you watch the video, it appears that one or maybe two of the shots might even have been a bit gratuitous and unnecessary at the end. And immediately after this was done, the customer decided it was time to leave the taqueria. So there was no
the customer being the shooter.
Being the shooter, yes. There was no call to the police, and waiting for the police, he decided his work was done, and he was packing up. I don't know if he took his tacos with him or not. That wasn't clear, but he left. I do believe they have since apprehended him. But I'll go back to my last question from Dollar General. Is this a good shoot?
Actually, I would say this.
I forgot one major item. The guy who was robbing the store was robbing it with a fake gun.
Shame.
Okay, so
have a real weapon.
It's irrelevant. Right. And the reason I say that's irrelevant is that doesn't mean anybody knew it was fake. They have burner guns now that look just like real guns. They're supposed to be painted orange, but you can put spray paint on top of anything and make it look like a real gun. So to me, that's irrelevant and beside the point, because we don't know this gentleman's mind. I doubt he knew it was a fake gun, or he would have just fought him. So obviously he thought it was a real gun. Now I'm going to tell you, my personal opinion, I have no problem with what that guy did, because you don't know the intention. Even though there's a video showing everybody loading their jewelry into this guy's bag and all of that sort of thing, we don't know his intention after that point. What if he would have got everybody's property off of them, then turned around and said no witnesses and just wasted everybody, which is certainly possible. Because of that, this guy took probably what would have been his only opportunity to kill the perpetrator. Now, where I do have an issue is that he left the scene after. If that would have been me, I'd have acted like Batman and just basically said, "That's right, I just saved everybody." You know,
smoked
him
like a pack of cools.
Yeah,
By the way,
he messed with the wrong dude, the wrong podcaster.
Didn't they get all their jewelry and stuff back? Didn't he give the victims their jewelry and stuff back before he left? Yeah, okay.
Returned all the items.
So, a couple thoughts that absolutely even seems just stupidity. Now, him shooting the guy evidently multiple times and in the back, if I'm mistaken, then correct me. Now, I don't have a problem with the shoot because, like Jim said, he got to turn around and little kid I had on, they called him juvenile. He wasn't a kid. I had him in an adult prison, but he was getting out on his 21st birthday. He was in for attempted murder. Initially he'd done a carjacking, and when he got the guy, he didn't carjack. He got the guy to drive him somewhere in New Orleans, and when he got out, he shot him. And the guy lived and was able to identify him. And when he was getting on his 21st birthday, I said, "Juvenile, what you going to do?" He said, "Different this time?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I'm going to make sure they're dead so they can't testify." So I get what you're saying. This guy could have turned and done that. Him shooting him multiple times. I'm going to tell you something. Back to what I said earlier about spring elite. If I have a 15 round magazine and one in the chamber, I'm going to shoot you all 16 times. And why wouldn't I shoot you 17? Because I didn't have another round. All right. If I'm going to shoot bullet once, I'm going to make sure you're dead.
Yeah. So, and this is a very important point in this whole situation and how I would essentially justify the good shoot. I was taught, and I know Woody was taught, that if you pull a gun, you better be ready to use it. Right. If I pull a gun on somebody, I have made the decision I am going to shoot you. It is not to scare you off. It is not to make you run away. If I pull it, as they would say in Tombstone, if I skin that smoke wagon, you're in a bind because I'm about to yank that trigger. I've got to assume that this guy has the same attitude. If he pulls a gun out, I'm not thinking he's just trying to rob me. I'm thinking he's trying to kill me. And so my whole thought process is if I'm armed, the second you give me the opportunity, I'm going to kill you. And so I don't fault this guy at all for shooting him. I fault him for leaving the scene. That's not right. And I wouldn't have left the scene. And that I think complicates it. I think he could have justified this otherwise. Right. But anytime anybody pulls a gun in my general vicinity, I've got to assume that they're going to kill me.
And I totally agree. But this it just hit me like a running theme for us today. It's not what these people did so much as is what they did after the fact. Like the Dollar General clerk going home, locking the store up and his business as usual. This cat did the same thing. Even the Menendez brothers,
yes.
Right? So
all three of these situations, they made the wrong decision after the fact.
After the fact. Yeah, immediately. And guns were involved, weapons. Oh, the 6-year-old didn't make the wrong decision after the fact because he got caught, but weapons were involved in all of them.
Right.
What do we think happens to this guy?
He ain't gonna get much. He might get a manslaughter. I doubt. Maybe a negligent. He probably is a good citizen and maybe an ape in acute political emergency because of the video. Give him a couple extra rounds. Something people are gonna be pissed off, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the textbook case of a plea bargain deal. Right. That he'll if he does any time, it'll be a few years. Right. It won't be it won't be what you would get like normally for a murder. But he probably could have got off the whole thing if he would have just stayed on the scene.
He won't give what Lyle Menendez got.
That's a fact.
Is there a specific charge for once you've put somebody down, if you decide to paint him with a few extras? Is there?
Well, no, because my defense on that would be if I was him, I put him down, but he still had his hand on his weapon and he was still moving. He could have turned over and shot me. Now, if his weapon flew across the room, flew across the room and he didn't have access to it, and you put a couple more in him, then you have specific intent, which could take it way ahead of time. And specific intent isn't much, y'all, like you think it is. If a mosquito lands on your arm and you say, oh, shit, that's a mosquito, and you go like that, then in that split second, you had the specific intent to kill him. Mm-hmm. That would be second-degree murder in the state of Louisiana.
If mosquitoes were a protected species.
I mean, yeah. The specific intent.
Which they've lost every time they've appealed to get on that list.
And we don't have mosquitoes, by the way. We have saber-tooth rock breakers.
You got that right.
Saber-tooth
hawks.
Rock breakers.
Yeah, they're just monsters. Yeah.
Oh.
Like the old, like Flintstones, saber-tooth rock breakers.
I lost the reference. Yeah. My wife did jump up on the kitchen counter the first time she saw these, major league, fully trained, well worked out roaches we have here in Louisiana.
Cow cockroaches. We got stories about those.
And one of them took off and flew.
Yeah, those are cow cockroaches.
Yeah. That's a new thing.
Well, they have wings.
Flying cockroaches. Yeah, we didn't have any of those where I came from.
Yeah. Oh, I bet she really freaked out.
They're interesting. The flying aspect of it really, really freaked her out.
Yeah.
Another new segment that to the show is we're going to feature hero canines, canine officers. And today's hero canine is Joker from the great state of Tennessee, who was was partnered with a Deputy Eduardo Choate, and the story of Joker is quite heroic. You guys are familiar with Joker's exploits?
Joker, y'all, was the breed of Malinois, which I ascertained from looking at the photographs. The people commonly get them mistaken with German Shepherds, but they're bred and raised in Belgium, and they'll ship them to the United States, and they have to go through extensive training before they even meet their handler. And they're trained in the Malinois breed is more common now than German Shepherds because they're cross-trained them in narcotics, apprehension, tracking, whatever it may be. Now, when they get with these trainers, they live with their trainers. I've been to the canine competitions where they'll show you a demonstration. If you're the canine, your deputy goes down on the ground and there's a bad guy coming at him, he's going to stop that bad guy. There could be a bad guy coming from another direction. He's going to turn around. He'll go back and forth between two bad guys to protect his deputy. On this night in Mention, a group of bad guys, suspect bad guys, stole a bunch of stuff from an apartment complex. They ditch the vehicle, run into the woods. Sometimes later, the deputy finds Joker that he's been shot. I don't know how he didn't hear the gunshot. Finds Joker's been shot in the woods. And y'all, that's just like that, the canines are officers, period. They literally lay down their lives to protect the deputy or an officer, and they should be treated as an officer of the law.
Okay, so when a Marine that was with Choate basically threw Joker on his back, and they hightail it to a veterinarian. Closest one was like 30 minutes away. The dog couldn't walk. It had been shot. It was being fed through a feeding tube, all these sorts of issues. They kept the dog, Joker, sedated because there was so much pain involved in this situation with the shooting of a canine. Now, historically, when an individual assaults a canine, it's not necessarily looked at as the same as shooting a police officer, a human being. And look, people can debate both sides of that. Some people will say a dog is not a human and they're different. Let me tell you, I love my dog. I look at my dog as a human. And officers, especially, sometimes these canines will keep you from a situation where you lose your life.
Absolutely. That's what they're used for.
And so they came up with a law essentially that strengthened the offense, or actually strengthened the punishability of an individual who assaults or kills a canine. And 30 years behind bars is what you're going to get now for that offense.
That's in the state of Tennessee.
In the state of Tennessee, yes.
Louisiana already had a law.
Yes.
The canines are police officers.
Yeah. So Joker was the recipient of that, and they actually call that Joker's Law.
That's law.
And the good thing with Joker, if you're curious, made it through and survived and is still working in Tennessee for the Bradley County Sheriff's Office and still chasing crooks.
Shout out to Joker, right?
Shout out Joker. Great name for a canine, by the way.
But to touch on just real quick what you said, and without going into my many stories I have, y'all, the canines are essential, whether it's especially searching a house or tracking. That's why the Malinois breed is so much more. Why the Malinois breed is so much better for law enforcement purposes, because they're multi-trashed, trained, where German Shepherds used to be just mainly apprehension dogs, whatever. Malinois they do it all. They train them to do it all. I can't tell you how many times I've had an open door late at night on a building, and we send in the canine first. If we had a canine available, right? The canine will go in and literally clear the building, and if there's a bad guy in there, they engage them, right? If I'd have gone there by myself, that bad guy could have shot me. But I can also tell you about the time guy pulled him over on a traffic stop, and he gets out and he's looking back in his car like he's going to reach for a firearm, and he runs, and it's a rural area. He jumps the fence and he runs. I go up to the car and I see the pistol on the thing. Well, the rule is 1+1. If they have one weapon, they'll have another. So I called the canine in, and the guy outran me for a little ways, but then I stopped and called the canine in. The canine got Harry. Shout out to Harry. Got his first apprehension that night. And the bad part of that story is the guy that outran me only had 1.5 feet. At a club play. you could have that shit out. But it's true.
Seriously?
But, yes, go ahead, seriously. But no, shout out to Joker. Too many stories to tell you about canines, but they literally, at one time, I did give one mouth to mouth, and I cried because he died. And that's a story for another day.
How dare you call your ex-girlfriend a canine?
All right.
Congrats, Joker, and I can't believe they put him back to work.
To
me, he should be on disability on a beach in Florida right now.
But
That's why I'd have you, Joker.
Joker wants to work. That's how they train them. They think it's a game where they're apprehending someone or finding narcotics. They give them their toy, and as soon as
he didn't know disability was an option.
That's right. Joker, we'll get you a better plan, son.
We all want to thank everybody for listening. We've only released a couple of episodes. We plan on bringing this to you 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday drops. Please comment, like, subscribe, share, do all that stuff y'all do with all those other podcasts that we produce and put out there. And until next time, I'm Jim Chapman.
I'm Woody Overton.
And I'm Mike Agavino.
For real life, real crime daily. Peace.
Build up to Black Friday with savings all month long at Lowe's. Get up to 50% off select major appliances, plus take an additional 10% off when you buy select major appliances. And don't wait to pick up holiday inflatables under $20. Don't wait to save, in-store or online now, because Lowe's knows deals. Valid 11/6 through 12/4. Cannot be combined with additional discounts. See Lowe's.com for details and qualifying items while supplies last.